Maya Collins had been cleaning concert halls for 11 years, and in all that time, she had learned one simple truth. Famous people rarely noticed the ones who made their world shine. She moved through the glittering backstage, corridors of the Grand Orion, theater with her mop and bucket, invisible as she always was, polishing the floors that the stars would walk across without a second glance. Tonight was a particularly big night, because Vanessa Cross, 5-time Grammy winner, the woman whose face appeared on every billboard from New York to Los Angeles, was rehearsing for what the press had called the concert of the decade. Maya worked quietly around the edges of the rehearsal hall, keeping close to the walls, focused on the stubborn wax stain near the far corner that had been bothering her since Monday. She did not expect to be noticed, and she certainly did not expect what came next. Vanessa Cross stood at the center of the stage, dressed in a silk robe surrounded by her team of vocal coaches, choreographers, and personal assistants, and at some point during a break in rehearsal, she turned and spotted Maya crouched near the baseboard. She tilted her head and smiled the kind of smile that has nothing warm in it. "Hey, you!" she called out, loudly enough for the entire room to hear. "The cleaning lady. Come here." Maya straightened slowly and walked to the edge of the stage. "Yes, ma'am?" Vanessa gestured to her team with an amused look. "I heard you humming earlier. What were you humming?" Maya felt her cheeks go warm. She had not realized anyone could hear her. She sometimes hummed without thinking, a habit left over from childhood, from a mother who sang while cooking and a grandmother who believed music was how the soul stayed alive. "I'm sorry if I disturbed anyone," Maya said quietly. No, don't apologize," Vanessa said, waving her hand. "Go ahead. Sing something." "Sing something right now." There was a ripple of laughter from the entourage. A stylist covered her smile. A choreographer leaned over and whispered something to a backup dancer, and they both looked at Maya with the particular cruelty of people who are enjoying someone else's discomfort. Maya understood exactly what was happening. She was the joke. The woman in the uniform with the mop bucket was being invited to humiliate herself for the entertainment of the room. She felt the old familiar pull to shrink, to apologize again, to say she couldn't sing and go back to her corner. But then something else stirred in her. Something older and deeper. Something her grandmother had put there a long time ago. She set down her mop, straightened her back, and she sang. She sang the opening of Caro mio ben, the Italian aria her grandmother had taught her from memory, the piece she had practiced for years in church basements and community centers, the song she had auditioned with twice for a conservatory, scholarship she had never received. Because life had moved differently than she planned. The sound that came of her was not what anyone in that room expected. It was full and round and completely controlled, rising through the rehearsal hall with the kind of effortless power that trained vocalists spend decades chasing. It climbed through the difficult passages without trembling, sat perfectly in the resonant center of every phrase, and filled the enormous space above them as though the room had been built specifically to hold her voice. The laughter stopped. The whispering stopped. Vanessa Cross, who had performed in sold-out arenas for 15 years, stood completely still. Her vocal coach, a woman named Irene who had trained some of the most respected voices in the country, turned to face Maya with an expression that had moved entirely past surprise and into something closer to reverence. When Maya finished, the silence lasted for several seconds. Then Irene began to clap, slowly and deliberately, the way someone claps when they mean every beat of it. One of the dancers joined in. Then a sound technician at the back of the room. Vanessa Cross did not clap. She stood where she was, and for the first time in a very long rehearsal, she had nothing to say. Maya picked up her mop. "Thank you for the invitation to sing," she said simply, and she meant it without sarcasm, because she had meant every note. She went back to her corner and finished her work. She was done before the rehearsal resumed. What Vanessa Cross did with that moment was her own business. What Maya carried out of that room was something she had almost forgotten she owned: her voice, her dignity, and the quiet certainty that neither of those things had ever belonged to anyone else. If this story moved something in you, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories, where every tale is a reminder that grace and greatness are never found where we expect them.